Coming up on First at 4, a 4.8 earthquake rattles New York City and the surrounding areas. What people saw and felt as it happened coming up. And preparing for a potential disaster was at the forefront of a Stop the Bleed event today. Why officials say events like this one are so important.
Plus, a freeze warning is in place for most of us through tonight. Your forecast on the way as Mountain News First at 4 starts now.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News First at 4.
Good afternoon. I'm Olivia Calfee. First at 4, an earthquake shook New York City Friday. The 4.8 quake hit central New Jersey, sending tremors throughout much of the Northeast that millions of people felt. Michael George is in Times Square with reaction.
A camera on the top of the Statue of Liberty shows the effects of the 4.8 magnitude earthquake that struck the Northeast. These dogs jumped to attention as the shaking rocked homes. And a meeting at the United Nations was briefly interrupted.
You're making the ground shake.
Initially, many thought the shaking was caused by something else.
I don't know if this is an earthquake, so I feel like I'm gonna sit down. I don't think it is, but I think it's just the construction, but it's very weird and it scared me.
It was a relatively strong earthquake for the Northeast, though it caused minimal damage. Safety crews here in New York City are checking buildings and bridges to make sure they didn't suffer any structural damage.
The earthquake that just hit New Jersey is one of the largest that's ever hit the New York City area.
Dr. Judith Hubbard is a geologist that specializes in earthquakes. She says the ground in this area causes more widespread shaking compared to a similar quake on the West Coast.
The location where the earthquake happened is on a fault that we know about. It's a really super old fault that probably formed about 200 million years ago when North America first split off of Africa.
State and local officials are warning residents to be on alert for aftershocks.
But we're ready for the unexpected. This is New York City, and we respond accordingly.
Experts say there's a small chance of an even larger earthquake in the months ahead. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
The strongest earthquake to hit the East Coast in decades was in 2011 when a 5.8 magnitude struck Virginia, cracking the Washington Monument. President Joe Biden is traveling to Baltimore following the deadly bridge collapse early last week. Biden is expected to meet with some of the family of the 6 construction workers who died after the Francis Scott Key Bridge collapsed. According to the White House, Biden is also expected to meet with state and local officials along with a tour of the wreckage. Since the accident, crews have been working to remove portions of the bridge. The House Transportation Coast Guard Subcommittee and House Homeland Security Transportation and Maritime Security Subcommittee held a hearing in Miami, Florida on port safety today. The 2 congressional subcommittees hosted a joint hearing at Port Miami to examine emerging challenges to safety and security at U.S. ports, as well as the state of port infrastructure and future investment needs.
The collapse of the Key Bridge exposed vulnerabilities and created an economic catastrophe for the country. When a major port shutters, shockwaves are felt nationwide. Locally, thousands of individuals depend on a port for their livelihoods and will be out of work.
Among the witnesses, high-ranking members of the Coast Guard, shipping executives, and representatives from various ports around the country.
We are tracking some more dreary weather across the region as we close out the work week, as more hit-or-miss rain showers also continue. Up on First Alert Pinpoint Doppler, the good news, no severe storms, but we are tracking some more hit-or-miss rain chances, possibly a few patches of wintry mix in those higher peaks of far southeast Kentucky, also pushing into southwest Virginia. For our friends in Harlan County, pushing into Lee, also Wise County in Virginia. But for most of us, some cold rain showers on this Friday afternoon, raining for places like Beattyville and in Lee County, pushing into West Liberty from Morgan County, also into Johnson, Floyd, and Martin counties at this hour. A live look across the mountains, and you can see not the best weather on this Friday. We are overcast, also chilly. Most of us right now in the 40s, and we should be in the 60s, up to 45 in Jackson, 47 for Manchester, also in Harlan, and 44 over in Estill County for Irvin at this hour. And some more cold weather is on the way as we go into this evening. Also tonight, we are tracking a slow drying trend overnight. And those clouds also clear, and those lows are frigid to wake up in the morning. Most of us see upper 20s and lower 30s. More details on that cold weather, plus a warm up coming up in just a few minutes. Olivia?
All right, Cameron, thank you. Public health officials say you can never be too prepared for potential disaster. So Floyd County's health department hosted a program today devoted to that sentiment. WYMT's Buddy Forbes has more from the Stop the Bleed event.
The Floyd County Health Department hosted a program today to teach people how to save lives by stopping the bleed. The health department invited community members, organizations, and other agencies to its Prestonsburg office Friday for a Stop the Bleed training, providing hands-on lessons for tourniquet use, wound packing, crisis response, and more. The event was the first hosted at the department as part of a push to include the training in the conversations about public health. Preparedness coordinator Tammy Ratliff says it is always good to be prepared for something like shootings, weather-related injuries, or other things that require immediate action.
Hopefully, since it's kind of been out there, and like I said, we've had a few come from other communities, other counties, that maybe in a few months, early summer, hopefully we plan on trying to offer another one that maybe we'll have more participants at.
Those involved say it was an eye-opening program, giving them a little experience for a situation they would never expect. In Floyd County, Buddy Forbes, WYMT Mountain News.
See more from today's event, including the wound simulation training coming up at 6. And coming up on First at 4, the countdown to Monday's eclipse is on. How some folks throughout the region are marking the rare occurrence.
Plus, we stay chilly through tonight, but a slow warming trend is on the way. Your forecast coming up.